Some perspective, political analyst Dahlia Scheindlin joins me now from Tel Aviv. She's also a fellow at the Century Foundation and has consulted on several national campaigns in Israel. So talk to me, Dahlia, a little bit about what it means for Netanyahu to be out of power, to not be the prime minister of Israel anymore.
Well, he certainly has to get accustomed to it. He's been in power for 12 years. And I think during that 12 years, he has come to think of himself genuinely, I think in his mind, as the only person who can truly run the country, inside the country, control the political circus that we saw today, and do all the things regarding Israel's external and foreign relations. I believe that he believes that about himself. Having said that, Netanyahu has been out of power before. He has been in opposition. You know, I was looking at 1999 when he resigned much more gracefully than he resigned today. Of course, it was a much more decisive loss at the time. And I think he genuinely believes in his way of thinking about it that he deserved to continue being prime minister. There is no question that he is looking at being in opposition, being the head of the opposition, as simply a route back into power. There are many other ways he could have dealt with this, but given his speech today, given how much he wants to stay in the system, inside the political system, it seems like he has taken on Ariel Sharon's mantra, which is sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down in politics, but never get off the wheel. It seems like Netanyahu has learned that lesson.
Now, here you have a coalition of parties so diverse that you can say they have pretty much nothing in common except their desire to kick Netanyahu out of office. Everything from the far-right Naftali Bennett to the centrist Yair Lapid to the Arab Israeli Mansour Abbas and all sorts of smaller parties in between. Presumably they've thought of situations where they will not be able to agree on core and important issues. Can they survive as a coalition of parties only bound together by their desire to oust Netanyahu?
I've come to think there's something a little bit somewhat shallow about that approach, which is said by many people, not just you, that the only thing unifying them is wanting to oust Netanyahu, because Netanyahu has come to stand over 12 years for a very clear form of governance, set of policies and ideas. And so I think when they want to oust him, they also want to change direction on the direction of the country, on the policies that the country is undertaking. Now, they disagree about how to do it, no question. But I think the first thing where we do see some agreement is a sense that the style of governance needs to change. Netanyahu has built his entire political, personality on deep division, oftentimes bordering on incitement, if not crossing the line, pitting different groups, one against the other, always looking for another internal enemy. And I think that so far, what we're seeing is that these parties have taken a very unified line about how hard they will work to compromise and cooperate. I cannot say whether they'll be successful.
Well, they don't have, but do they have a choice? I mean, Dahlia, they don't have, sorry to jump in, they don't have a choice. They're a coalition of very different parties. If they don't cooperate, they'll collapse, the coalition will disintegrate, and you'll have another election. But where are the policy issues where they agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is some agreement on some of the less controversial issues. So, for example, on how to manage the economy, on how to manage, very important ministries like the health ministry or the environment ministry, even transportation, which went to labor. It is a little controversial because it has to do with the West Bank, but I think there's more consensus, or at least willingness to come to compromise over those kinds of things. There may even be some willingness to make changes with relation to religion and state, a very explosive issue that was a core theme of Naftali Bennett's speech, dealing with the ultra-Orthodox and how they have been outside the conscription laws in Israel and trying to modify those slightly. I think that there is some internal agreement within the coalition on these issues, despite the fact that Naftali Bennett has represented a religious community, but it's different from the ultra-Orthodox. So we may see some small incremental changes on that. I don't think we will see any significant change regarding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, because that's where, of course, they have the deepest disagreement.
So you sound pretty optimistic about this coalition, that it can hold.
I think optimism may be overstating the case of my feelings right now, but I think they have a lot of interest, as you pointed out, in trying to make it work. They have certainly said and forged coalition agreements that involve lots of mechanisms for avoiding the kind of collapse that we saw in the previous government between Netanyahu and Benny Gantz, the two unlikely coalition partners. And that agreement was broken very quickly and very easily. And we're seeing them working hard to put sort of safeguards so that the coalition doesn't collapse that fast. I think optimism will be going too far. We rarely have governments that last a full term, 4 years in Israel, almost never.
Yeah.
So of course, I don't expect them to last a full term. The question is, will they even last a few months? If they can make it to 6 months, I think the whole country will be a little relieved.
Where is Israeli public opinion on this coalition?
You know, Israeli public opinion is so divided on these issues. What we see is that just below half, according to the few surveys that we've seen, just below half of Israelis prefer this coalition to another election, where just over a third prefer a fifth election. And the rest don't know because they're frankly so confused or possibly alienated from the political system that they're not sure what to do. And so I think what we see is a plurality, which is all we can hope for in Israeli politics. We rarely have a majority of anything, who prefer to have this situation as imperfect as it is. But I can certainly say that there's nobody who really wants a fifth election for its own sake.
All right. Yes, we have not spoken on CNN with anyone who has said that they support the idea of a fifth election. Dahlia Scheindlin, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us. Of course, you have such a long experience in Israeli politics, so your take on this is invaluable. Thank you very much.